Hi, I'm Scotty O'Toole, engineer at Omega Studios here in Rockville, Maryland, home of the Omega Studios School of Applied Recording Arts and Sciences. And welcome to our video series on recording drums. So here we are in Studio B, where we're going to take a look at a classic miking technique that's going to yield a good drum sound using a minimum of microphones and minimum of inputs. But before we can get started, we need to get the rest of our drums set up. So let's get to it. Now that we have our drums set up, we want to make sure that they're in good tune before we start miking them up. Tuning is very important in getting a good drum sound, so please check out our video on drum tuning. We have these tweaked a little bit already, and we're going to start miking them up, so let's get to the microphones. So the setup we're going to use today is a nice minimal setup using 4 microphones. We'll be using 4 inputs, focusing mostly on the kick and the snare, with a single overhead microphone looking down on the kit to get an overall sound from above. And we're using a Sony C48 today for our overhead microphone. We're going to actually slide that guy on in position in the overhead slot. So that's looking pretty good right about there. What we need to do now is add something to the bass drum so we can bring that a little more prominently in the mix, bring it into focus for overall sound. So we're going to be using a large diaphragm dynamic microphone, a Electro Voice RE20. And that'll be a good starting position for our bass drum sound. Now that we got the bass drum into the setup, we're going to need to get a mic on the snare drum, or possibly 2 mics on the snare drum to get some focus. I'm a big fan of using 2 microphones on the snare, one on the top and one on the bottom, to get the snap and the presence from the drum. So we're going to add those to the setup now. For the top mic, we're going to be using a Shure SM57 cardioid dynamic microphone. For the bottom, I like a small diaphragm condenser microphone down there. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some level on this overhead mic, see what we're working with here sonically.
Hey Alex, think we could hear some drums?
Alright, so let's get a little bit of that kick drum into that setup, into that mix, and see what we got going on.
Hey Alex, you think we could get some levels on the kick?
Alright, let's get the snare mics into the mix. Let's get some levels on that top and bottom snare mic.
Hey Alex, could we get some levels on the snare, please?
Cool, those levels are looking pretty good. Why don't you go ahead and pull that bottom snare mic back in the mix a little bit. Let's go ahead and keep having them play the snare.
Could you keep playing the snare, please?
Cool, let's go ahead and hear the whole drum sound with the snare mics now in place.
Hey Alex, could we hear the whole set, please?
Cool, at this point, this is where I'd like to check some phase relationships, particularly between the snare microphone, or the snare top microphone, and the overhead. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and solo the snare top mic, and let's go ahead and solo our overhead mic. We'll get him to play the drums some more.
Could you keep playing, please?
Cool, so what I want to do is on the snare top channel, I want to go ahead and flip the phase. So let's go ahead and flip that phase, see if the sound changes significantly. Cool, you guys hear that difference? It's pretty significant. Go ahead and let's go ahead and unflip the phase and hear it again so we can A/B the 2. Here the snare got a little bit smaller, a little bit more thinner sounding. Go ahead and flip it back. Cool, so yeah, so we have a better phase relationship happening with our snare now versus overhead. So we have a fatter, more focused snare drum sound. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It's got a little bit of meat going on. I like to call it meat. So let's go ahead and let's unsolo all the drums there, and let's hear the whole drum kit. So with this nice simple setup, you can get some nice drum sounds that'll take you a long way into productions that you have going on with just a few microphones and just a few inputs. If you enjoyed this video, please check out other videos of ours from the Omega Studio School, and you can also check out our website, omegastudioschool.edu, for more information. Thanks so much for watching.